So a few years back, I'm driving down the road and I was pretty frustrated at traffic, and I began this conversation. I started talking to whoever was listening, and I said, "This can't be right," And I can't remember exactly what happened, but I had, I'm sure you've had those kind of moments where you just keep talking, and I realized I had a moment of clarity is what happened, and I realized that, that I was making it all up. I was the disturbance. It wasn't the traffic. It wasn't the things that were going on. It was me. And it felt so good to realize that I didn't have to live that way. That I felt this moment of freedom. And then I thought, the next time it happened, I thought, well, why can't I remember that? I just went through this yesterday or a week ago, and here I am frustrated again. Why don't I ever remember that? I thought about it a bit, and one day when I was talking, I began to talk through it again. I said, why didn't I remember that? And somewhere the voice in me said, record it, you idiot. So I started to record these conversations, and then the ego jumped right up and told me, who do you think you are? Boy, you're making yourself out to be your own God. You're really, you really lost it now, buddy. And I had to listen to that voice in my head that was the same voice in my head that was telling me the traffic was miserable and I needed to be suffering. It's a very old voice. But it's a voice that I made up. It's the voice of the ego, and it's who I think I am. And I made up this voice, and it tells me all the time, what everything means. And it's the only authority I've ever known. Well, I've been building a relationship with a power greater than myself. Well, what does that mean? I had to ask myself, what does that mean? So I started out asking some simple questions like who am I? Not who I think I am, but who am I? And, of course, that brought up the God thing, and I started saying, well, okay, what did my Creator create me to be? And then I started, everybody has their experiences. So I used my life experiences and the things that I've studied and the paths that I've walked, and I used all those things. And they started to make sense to me. They started to fit together. The pieces started to fit together. And I said, well, if my Creator, just on a simple level, and you could ask yourself the same question, if you have a loving Creator that created you to be happy, joyous, and free, and created you to be a kind, loving, powerful, whatever words you use to describe yourself, if you can imagine a deity that loves you beyond anything you can imagine, what did he create you to be? And write it out on a piece of paper so you're clear about what it is, who you are, because you don't even know who you are. So if you write it on a piece of paper, you'll be clear about who you are. And so when you're talking to that part of you that is that, because if God created you that way and he's all powerful, you must be that guy. Now, you don't have to act that way. And I haven't acted that way most of my life, and I'm sure most of us don't, because we built another character that acts the way we were programmed to act. Who programmed me? My parents had something to do with it, my situations in my life. But basically, I programmed myself that way. I built a character called my ego, and it's who I think I am. And it's going to defend itself because I haven't known any other authority. I knew about God, I knew about church, I knew about Jesus, I knew about these things, but I really didn't. They were just words. They didn't have meaning for me. And I realized most people, they don't really have meaning for either. They say things in the hope that when they die, they'll go someplace good. But in a living application, they rely on this all the time. I know, I got the facts and all the data. And life is more than just facts, and so I don't know, but I know there is part of me that does know. See, so I can go and ask that part of me for anything. Matter of fact, when I don't, that's when I get into trouble. And so I've built this relationship by talking to myself, basically. You could say talking to myself. But I realize that whatever's given me life has not left me. It's within me. It's beating my heart, breathing my breath, and it's doing all these amazing functions in my body, and I have no idea how it does it. So it obviously isn't the me I think I am. So that must be my higher power. So I begin to talk to that, and it's divine intelligence is what it is. And I talk to divine intelligence, and I ask that intelligence, can you help me to see the world differently? If it's not the way I think it is, how would you have me see it, God? And I talk to God like that because the presence is within me. How would this man that God created me to be see this world? What words would he have for me to talk on this video right now today? What words would that creator give me? And I find that I have words I didn't know I have. And I'm talking about things with an authority that I don't have. So it's obviously there's something there that wasn't there before. And I realize it's a simple thing. How did that happen? Oh, it's in all the books that I ever read. It's in the scriptures. It says, "Ask and you shall receive; knock and it'll be open." Right? It says, "The kingdom of heaven is within." Right? Well, where would He art in me? Our Father who art in heaven, He art in my heart. So I'm talking to my heart. So I'm talking to the presence of the divine within me, and it's real for me, and it's that way for you too. But no one ever told you that. So what I'm encouraging you to do is begin this conversation with that part of yourself that is the presence within you, uniquely for you, to help you to live in the world, to be what God created you to be. Now I'm sounding like a preacher. Blows my mind when it comes out like this. But, I'm not a preacher. I'm just a regular dude that had a conversation with the divine within him. And it changed my life. And it continues to change my life. It isn't it's not I used to think it was, I'm going to get it one day and it's going to all be different. It's a living presence that has to be lived every day. Now I'm getting dramatic. Why not have fun, right? So it's a living presence that is the authentic me, the man that God created me to be. And I have a dialogue with that part. And then I realized, I used to say, well, God doesn't talk to me, right? And then I thought, well, if God's within me, what voice is He going to use? Oh, He's going to have to use my voice. So, God, can I be a channel? Can you talk to me with my voice? And, instantly I knew that the vibrational frequency of my own voice coming back in my ears is perfectly attuned to this physical body. So I'm the best teacher for me, but not me, but the presence within me. The Christ presence within me, speaking to me, through me, and as me, is the perfect thing to heal me of the dis-ease that I suffer. It's a dis-ease, right? My mind has been programmed with information that is incorrect, and it's the same thing with all of us. We get nobody had the answer, right? So, but as we begin to build in a relationship with the part of us that does have the answer for us, miraculous things start happening. Pieces of our life come together. The things that never made sense, they start to make sense to you based on your individual experience. So you're different than me. So your experience of that's going to be different for you. But that's the way it's intended, because we're all individual manifestations of the one thing called the presence of God. Now, you don't have to intellectually understand anything I'm saying or agree with me. It doesn't matter. You don't have to agree with gravity for you to cooperate with it, right? But if you cooperate with gravity, what happens? You become empowered, right? You can do more things. You can ride a skateboard, bicycle. You can do more things. But you're always going to fall, right? But you're going to learn to cooperate with it better. So this presence that's within me that I'm trying to cooperate with, I'm getting better at cooperating with that presence. Cooperating. That means the ego self is now cooperating with the God-man that God would have me be. And as that cooperates, my message gets clearer. And that's true for all of us. So I'm not a special person. I'm not like a preacher. I'm definitely not a preacher. I'm not a sinner either. And all of that stuff starts to make sense. And the things that were true in the teachings that I learned have not changed, and they come alive in me. They come alive in me, and they'll come alive in you. And you'll be the person you were always intended to be by that created you, which is what our purpose here is, right? And now we get to share that wonder and that joy and that love with everybody that we come in contact with. And we begin to realize that's the problem with the world. We're all trying to fight for our own individual thing. But as soon as you connect with the presence within you, you connect with everybody around you, because you realize they're the same as you. That thing that's beating their heart and breathing their breath is the same thing in them. It doesn't matter what religion they call it. It doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter what their political beliefs are. It's God. And it's trying to have its being as you. And it requires your cooperation. You can live your own life and fight, battle with everybody if you want, like most of us do. Or you can begin a conversation. It's going to be uncomfortable. Your ego's going to fight all the way through. But what else you got to do, right? Look at the world. It's pretty messed up out there. There's the haves and the have-nots, and all the people are stuck in the middle, and everybody wants to have an answer for it. Well, the solution is different than an answer. When you have a solution, you put your problems in the solution, and they dissolve. What does that mean? Well, for me, it means that when I trust in this presence and bring all my problems to this presence, which is another way of saying what all those books that I read years ago and all the great teachers ever told me, when I put my trust in the solution, all my problems dissolve. And I come into harmony with all of life. And then I know I have to talk about this to you because there's nothing else. What else is there, right? And it brings an incredible amount of joy. And I realize that I'm supposed to be a joyful being. And I was a suffering individual. I don't know how you lived. I won sometimes, I lost sometimes. And I guess I still do. But I don't look at it that way. It's all an opportunity to get closer, to recognize the kingdom of heaven is within. It's not outside. It's not someplace I'm going to get to. It's when I recognize it. And here's the thing about words. I'm talking long here. I didn't intend this to be this long, but when I say these words, all of a sudden the meaning makes sense instantly in my head, like I knew it all along. To recognize, to bring back to conscious awareness once again. That means I already know this stuff that I'm talking about. You already know this stuff. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You already know this stuff. We came here knowing this stuff. But we programmed a mind to where we forgot. The reason we forgot was to have the remembrance of who we are. I should say who I am, which is what Moses said when he came down from the hill, right? Now and forevermore, I shall be known as I am. But there's a million I ams. But they're all the same presence. It's the presence of the divine in life, period. It's in you, it's in me, it's in everything. And when I recognize it, I come into harmony, and then I appreciate it, and I value it, and I cherish it, and I want to nurture it, and I want to help it grow, and there's no argument anywhere to be found. It's a little scary because I keep flipping back into my mind, and I might lose my stuff, and I don't want to lose my stuff because, oh, no, I worked hard for my stuff. Right? So there's no answer, and there's no immediate change that has to take place. But I have to begin to build the awareness that I have this choice. It's my free will. My Creator gave me free will. I can choose to cooperate with my Creator and learn to live in harmony in the universe, or I can choose something else. And we all have that all the time. But what happens is you recognize one way leads to peace and joy, and the other way leads to problems and arguments and frustration. And our process here on this planet seems to be to learn to know the difference. Discernment, you call it? I don't know. Like I said, I don't have any answers for anybody. But I have a solution that I can live in today. And I'm offering you the same solution because it was offered to me. It's free. And maybe I'm putting it in a way that hopefully more people will understand than have understood in the past. I don't know. I have no authority on anything. I can guarantee you that. Just a regular guy that's found a method that works, and it operates. And I begin to recognize the principles that they've always taught me. Principles never fail. So every time I ask, I receive, even if I don't see it. Is that true? And I found out that it is true. I always receive. Sometimes it takes me a while to recognize that I got my answer. I got what I needed. Because every problem you ever had, what was the problem you had last year? Do you remember? No, it's gone. So it's worked out. You might have had a struggle. You might have had to go through, but you got an answer. And you got through it. You're here. Right? But see, everything, my mind makes everything into a monster. And it can't possibly work here. And it's just the noise, the voice in my head. It's not who I am. It's not who I am. The presence in you is greater than that voice in your head. And when we know that, we live differently. When we live differently, we come into harmony. So 15 minutes is more than enough for me to be preaching today. So I hope that helps. And the reason that like I said, I recorded it, and unfortunately, when the recordings, I'm driving down the road because I got to maintain that conscious contact, and the if I'm not talking to a power greater than my mind starts to take over again, tell me how bad the traffic's getting and why it isn't going to work out. And, who's this guy think, yeah, I can't let him in, It's insane mind. It really is, and then I worry about I'm not going to get home in time for dinner, and what's the family going to say, or whatever the case may be. I'm just going to worry about something. So I got to maintain that conscious contact. So I record myself talking to my higher power in the car as I'm driving. I don't think the highway patrol would really like that, but I don't have to take my hands off the wheel and I don't have to be distracted. I just record. It goes on and I record. And so there's going to be a lot of road noise in those recordings. So I'm not sure if this is going to make it onto the. Originally, this was supposed to be a 2-minute video of explaining what I do on an audio blog, and it turned out to be a 16-minute video. Anyway, I hope you'll try it. Listen to a couple of the things just as a demonstration. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I would never do that. But I just want to give you a demonstration of how I try to make it real for me every day. And then you could try it in your own way. But at least you have now a demonstration. Maybe you didn't have that before, because I didn't have it before. So I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.